To order the Regional Planning Governing Board meeting for Thursday, October 8th, 2020 at 2 p.m. I am standing in for our chair, Naomi Dewar, who is currently in the field. Clerk, will we start? And I don't know, is it you, Mr. Tolley, who's running the roll call?
Mr. Kerwin, Damian Kerwin is running that.
Oh, I apologize. Okay.
No worries. All right. Bonnie Weber. Absent. Devin Reese.
Here.
Donald Abbott.
Here.
Ed Lawson.
Here.
Jean Herman.
Here.
Jenny Breckus.
Here.
Christopher Dare for Charlene Bybee.
Here.
Marsha Burke-Bigler.
Here.
Naomi Dewar. Believe she will probably be rejoining us shortly. Von Hartung.
Here.
And non-voting member Katie Simon Holland.
Here.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. I believe we have a quorum. In fact, I'm positive we do. Salute to the flag.
Commissioner Hartung, if we may, I'd like to read a disclaimer about the digital format here, and then we're going to have Damian show us a quick demo of how folks can participate with the public comment card.
And I see our chair is back, so I'll stand down.
Thank you, Commissioner Hartung. So my name is Jeremy Smith. I'm the Director of Regional Planning for the record. We have an opening announcement. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Due to the social distancing requirements enacted in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, Regional Planning Governing Board meetings will be hosted in this virtual setting until further notice. The safety of regional residents, employees, and elected officials are important to us, and we appreciate your patience as we journey through this virtual meeting together. Regional Planning uses Zoom, a third-party app, for its virtual meetings and does not control its technical specifications or requirements. Your ability to participate in public comment during this meeting may be impacted by factors like the type of device you use, the strength of your internet or cellular signal, and the company that provides your internet or cellular service. Team RPA is not responsible if you are not able to participate in a meeting through Zoom due to these or any other factors. For those watching and listening from home, there are two opportunities to give general public comment. That would be items 5 and 10 towards the beginning and end of the meeting. You can also opt to give public comment on a specific item. In order to participate in public comment, you must access the tmrpa.org homepage and click on the digital public comment card button. There you can choose the item you wish to speak on. Once submitted, you will be given instructions on how to join the Zoom meeting in progress and instructions for how public comment will be administered. When you are called on to speak for public comment, please state your name for the record and begin speaking. The timer will begin when you say your name, and you will have 3 minutes. Please remember, any comments or questions cannot be addressed or answered by the board if the topics have not been agendized. Any person who disrupts the meeting to the extent that it is disorderly conduct will be removed from the meeting. So at this time, we'd like to have Clerk Damian Kerwin give us a brief demo for folks that are watching on YouTube on how to fill out the digital public comment card and make public comment.
All right. Thank you, Jeremy. Good afternoon, Chair and Governing Board members. For the record, Damian Kerwin with Regional Planning. I'm just going to share my screen real quick here to share how folks can give public comment. Can everyone see my screen okay?
Yes, we're seeing it.
All right, thank you. So you'll just go to our homepage at tmrpa.org, and you'll see right here on the very front screen, and we'll click here to access the digital public comment card. And remember, this is something that you have to fill out each time if you want to give public comment on any item. If you want to do more than once, you have to fill it out again. So you just go through, and I'll quickly fill out the information. And the required items are your first, last name, email, the agenda item you want to speak on, and if you're going to be using video or phone number. So you simply go through and fill out everything that you need to, and then hit submit. And that will then take you to this landing page where you will have the credentials to join the Zoom meeting. You could follow it on YouTube if you want, or if you want to call in. This information will also be emailed to folks as well, so you'll kind of have it in 2 different places. All right, and that's all for submitting public comment.
Thank you,
All
Damien.
right. Mr. Smith or Dr. Smith, I don't see Vaughn on the screen, but I'd like to ask our vice chair. I've had to call in on my phone versus my computer. And so I'm going to ask our vice chair to run the meeting, if you would, Mr. Hartung.
Okay, Madam Chair, I'm here. So at this time, we have a salute to the flag. I've pulled a small flag up in the background here. Miss Simon Holland, would you lead us in the pledge?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I'd be happy to. Please join me.
I'm trying to.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. Okay, item number 3, approval of the agenda. I'm going to pull one item out of our consent. That's item 6A. And if anyone else wants to see anything changed, please let me know now. Otherwise, I will entertain a motion.
May I speak, please?
Ms. Breckus.
Yeah, I just want to, for purposes of the meeting quorum, let my colleagues know that I am the liaison to the Historic Resources Commission, and they start at 3 p.m. today. I've tried this year. I was going to have them re-engineer their meetings, but they haven't been meeting regularly. But they have some items today, and the chair has asked me to be present. So I'm going to leave this meeting at 3. And I think we have 2 other Reno members on, and I think we'll have quorum still. Okay, thank you.
And I'll do my best, Jenny, to get us through this so that you can be out by 3. Okay, so I've moved item 6A off of the consent agenda. Are there any other changes? Mr. Reese.
I was going to make a motion to approve as directed.
Okay, have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion by Reese, second by Burke-Bigler. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Are there any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Okay, item number 4, approval of the minutes. And we'll take this as one unit, August 13th, 2020 and September 3rd, 2020. Are there any emendations? If not, I will entertain a motion.
So moved. I can have
Okay.
it.
Okay, I got a bunch here. The first one that I heard was a motion by Burke-Bigler. The second one that I heard was second by Reese, I think. Is that okay? Okay, good. Okay, so I have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item number 5, public comment. Mr. Kerwin, you are up again, sir.
We have not received any public comment for this item.
Is there anyone online wishing to speak at this time? Okay, seeing none, I will close public comment.
You're muted, Vaughn.
Sorry, I apologize. Yeah, my thing came up. Okay, seeing no public comment, we'll close that item and we will go to item 6. Again, that's our consent agenda. That is item 6B and 6C, with item 6A being moved out.
Move to approve as the chair discussed.
Okay. I have a motion by Mr. Lawson, second by Mr. Reese. Is there any discussion? Before we go there, is there any public comment on the consent agenda, Mr. Kerwin?
We have received none.
Is there anyone in the chat room wishing to speak at this time? Seeing none, I will close public comment. We have a motion. We have a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Oh my goodness. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item 6A, discussion and possible action to ratify the contract with Jeremy Smith for the position of Director of Regional Planning. The only reason I pulled this out is because I believe it's a It's an item which requires us to agree on a figure, a salary for Mr. Smith, for Dr. Smith. I think the numbers are completely reasonable, but I wanted to pull it out. Mr. Smith, will you read the item for us?
Absolutely. Item 6A, discussion and possible action to ratify the contract with Jeremy M. Smith, position of Director of Regional Planning. I'd like to defer to Legal Counsel Prunty, who put the staff report together.
Ms. Prunty.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, acting Mr. Chair. Per the directive of this board at their August meeting, Chair Dewar and Director Smith conferred and reached terms of that are set forth in the employment contract. Legal counsel was directed to draft the employment contract. It was circulated and some revisions were made per Chair Dewar's request and Director Smith's request. And the contract is enclosed in your packet in item pages 17 through 22. I'm available if you have any questions regarding some of the substantive terms. Basically, this is very similar to the prior director contracts. There's been a little bit of reorganization and slight updating. And then Chair Dewar and Director Smith worked together to reach the salary amount that's set forth on the top of page 2, paragraph 3.
That's under compensation, that's 137,280. I personally believe that this is a very reasonable number for Dr. Smith's acumen, for what he brings to the table. I just wanted to make sure that we got all of this on the record in an open discussion. I want to thank the chair for the negotiation process and of course, Dr. Smith. Do we have any questions for either staff or anyone else? Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Oh, yes. Go ahead. Go ahead, Madam Chair.
Yeah, I just wanted to explain. This is very close to Kim Robinson's departing salary. We wanted to keep some parity. Jeremy was making $125. We would be taking out the $2,500 amount that Kim received as a longevity bonus. That's seems to be a best practice in manager contracts. So anyway, I came at it 3 ways. I did a very brief salary survey. I scaled it up from what Kim started at. And I also looked at what Kim left at. And this seemed to be a good number. Thank you.
No, and I totally agree. I think we're getting a bargain basket here. I really do, given all of the talents that Dr. Smith brings to the organization. Any other questions from any other members? Okay. Mr. Kerwin, do we have any public comment on this item?
We have none.
Is there anyone in the chat room wishing to speak at this time? Seeing none, I will close public comment and I will entertain a motion for item 6A to ratify the contract with Dr. Jeremy Smith.
Move to approve.
Okay, so Ms. Breckus, I heard you first. I saw your hand come up. Who's my second? Was it you, Ms. Herman?
Yes.
Okay, so I have a motion by Breckus, second by Herman. Is there any other discussion on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Dr. Smith, thank you so much. We appreciate it. We look forward to a long and fruitful relationship. Business of the day. Item number 7A. Dr. Smith.
Mr. Hartung?
Yes.
Mr. Hartung?
Yeah, no. Go ahead. Go ahead, Ms. Stewart. Yes.
Even though I have good reception, I would like you to continue leading the meeting just because the connection's unstable. So I don't want to create a drama in terms of reconnecting. No. So thank you.
Understood. Yeah, your video keeps freezing for us. Okay. Business of the day, item 7A, Dr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for today. Mr. Vice Chair, Chair for today. We have a 7A RPGB Resolution 20-02, Resolution of Appreciation for the Service of Donald Abbott as Chair of the RPGB from 2019 to 2020. I'd like to read that resolution into the record, please. So here we go. Regional Planning Governing Board Resolution number 20-02, Resolution of Appreciation for the Service of Donald Abbott, 2019 to 2020 Chair of the Regional Planning Governing Board. Whereas Donald Abbott served as the chair of the Truckee Meadows Regional Planning Governing Board from August 2019 through August 2020 and provided exemplary leadership during the final months of the 2019 Regional Plan Update, encouraging collaboration among the jurisdictions and affected entities. And whereas Donald Abbott imparted thoughtful, focused, and visionary leadership to the Regional Planning Governing Board, the Regional Planning Commission, and the Truckee Meadows Regional Planning Agency during this time. And whereas Donald Abbott, during his tenure as chair, sought to engage the board members collaboratively on important regional issues, including the aforementioned 2019 Truckee Meadows Regional Plan Update. Whereas Donald Abbott engaged and guided detailed discussions of the overall direction of TMRPA and supported TMRPA staff throughout his tenure as chair. Whereas Donald Abbott sought to provide an efficient structure and inclusive environment for all voices to be heard during meetings. And whereas Donald Abbott represented the region by patronizing every restaurant within the city of Sparks and by having his face characterized on cans of beer. And whereas Donald Abbott brought his sense of humor and patient, engaging style to the meetings. And whereas, you may not know this, Donald, but Donald Abbott is affectionately referred to as Donnie Abs by TMRPA staff. And whereas Donald Abbott consistently and effectively exercised his responsibilities as a member of the Regional Planning Governing Board efficiently, fairly, and with strong leadership, clear direction, respect for staff, and commitment to the benefits of regional planning. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Regional Planning Governing Board does hereby extend its sincere appreciation to Donald Abbott for serving as a member of the Regional Planning Governing Board and for his countless hours of public service on behalf of the citizens of the Truckee Meadows. Adopted this day, October 8th, 2020, by affirmative vote. Thank you very much.
I want to know, I have a question. I want to know if the rest of us can call him Donnie Ab.
Donnie Abs.
Like I need another nickname.
Sorry, Donald.
That's it.
I actually Googled it. There's a lady that does like ab workouts. So maybe I should follow the Donnie Ab workout, get my six pack. But no, thank you guys. It was fun it was my first chairmanship and I learned a lot, and thank you. I appreciate you guys for giving me the opportunity to do it. And it was one heck of a year. And so thank you. It was fun.
And you did great work. Move approval.
Okay, so I've got a motion, but do any other members want to make any comments at this time? Okay, so I will just say, Mr. Abbott, I appreciate your warm and engaging personality and the way you approach the chairmanship and the thoughtful way that you dealt with each one of us as members, and I think you did a great job. Miss Stewart. Ms. Stewart, you have the floor.
Audio here. Can you hear me on this audio?
We have you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure that it's unmuted. Mr. Chair, can you hear me okay?
You have the floor, Ms. Stewart. Go ahead. Ma'am.
Okay. I just wanted to say how grateful I am to Donald. I enjoyed being his vice chair. I thought he had a lot of creative and innovative ways of doing it, and I'm sure he's going to be a great future chair of some other boards as well in time to come. So thanks a lot, Don.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you guys. Sorry.
So in the completion of my thought, Donald, I was deeply appreciative of how often and sincerely you laughed at my dad jokes. And so I'm forever grateful for that.
Anytime, Hard Tongue, anytime. I was really hoping you're going to have one for right now, but you're letting me down.
Well, you know, I'm gonna hold off. I'll connect with you later.
Sounds good.
I'll spare the board. So I have a motion by Commissioner Berkbigler. If no one else wants to say anything, do I have a second?
I'll second Dewar.
Okay, I actually, I saw Mr. Reese's hand go up first, Madam Chair, but I'll take your second as, so I have a motion by Commissioner Burke-Bigler, second by Councilwoman Dewar. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 And I neglected, I don't think there are any nays. I neglected, Mr. Kerwin, did we have any public comment on this item?
No, we did not.
Okay, good. Okay, thanks again, Mr. Abbott. We appreciate all the time and the hard work that you put in. Item 7B, presentation and possible acceptance of the 2020 Truckee Meadows Annual Report, the TIMAR, for possible action. Dr. Smith or Ms. Prunty, who takes this?
This one will be me, Jeremy Smith, for the record. Thank you, Commissioner Hartung. I'm going to share my screen and do a short presentation and then take you to the website. Okay, so are you guys seeing the screen okay?
We are.
Excellent, thank you.
Yep.
So every year, jurisdictions and affected entities are required by state law to send to regional planning an annual report that describes the actions they've taken during the previous year to implement the regional plan. Those jurisdictions and affected entities that have submitted reports are on the screen here today. And so everyone actually submitted reports. Typically, the deadline is April 1st. We have a new plan, obviously, that now, as of basically today or in a couple days, will be a year old. And so it took us a bit to really communicate our expectations to these entities and jurisdictions about what it was that we were looking for that was different. So we're kind of seeing this year as a bit of an interim in terms of the reports that get submitted. And I'm sure that next year we'll be able to easily meet the April 1st deadline. But everyone did submit a report and they did address the new plan policies as they've been laid out. So we got all of that information in. Now, typically to date, for the about 10 years I've been working at regional planning, that's about as far as it's gone. And those reports have been bundled up and put on a consent item and submitted to both the RPC and RPGB for review and for the public record, but there hasn't really been a significant action towards that information, which actually is very valuable information. And one thing we don't want to do is make busy work for the jurisdictions. We want to make sure that this is meaningful. So this time around, and in the regional plan update, we came up with policy RC8, which asks us to create a host of regional statistics to go along with the regional, or rather the annual reports that are submitted by the jurisdiction affected entities. We want to look at things like population, demographics, employment, growth, what we're doing in terms of our regulatory function, that sort of thing. In addition to that, we actually wanted to make, like I said, more of these reports that are submitted. So on our website, which I'm about to show you, the tmrp.org/TMAR website, just stands for Truckee Meadows Annual Report, we've actually summarized all of the materials that have been submitted by the jurisdictions and affected entities at the bottom of that page and provided a direct link to their submitted report. So that all that stuff is online now. It's quite a bit more accessible than it was. And we have provided a host of regional statistics, which I will take you through right now. Hopefully some of you had a chance to take a look at some of this prior to the meeting. But here's what happens when you land on the page, the TMR page, you've got understanding of what year we're dealing with, and some of the graphs that we provided here are just sort of, eventually these will be clickable thumbnails that will take you to the graph, but we have basically
Jeremy,
4 sections.
Apologies for interruption. We can't see the page that you're
Thank you very
on.
much for letting me know that. That was very helpful.
No worries.
Let me try again. Okay, now I bet you're seeing it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is an online report. Like I say, it includes direct access to the submitted reports by jurisdictions and affected entities. It also has our summaries and the statistics we've compiled. We're treating this to a large degree as a living document, in the sense that we want to continue to improve it and to continue to be able to provide a robust set of statistics that we can add to, but we've gotten really far and we've taken it, I think, to a new level. So eventually these images on the right, which are just sort of to make it look nice right now, will be linkable and will take you to them. But each one of these graphs exists below. So our first section is population. And we start with just a simple look at the state demographer's information about how many people are in Washoe County as of the last certified estimate and how that breaks down by jurisdiction. We take that a little further, looking at the past 5 years of growth, looking at that estimate since 2015 to see which years we've been growing higher or lower in and what the share of growth is among the jurisdictions. We took a look and provided demographics. This comes from the American Community Survey and talks about the makeup of the different races in our county. Further, ethnicity really at this point from the census refers to whether or not someone is Hispanic or Latino. So we provided that percentage for each of the race categories above. And then we also have our consensus forecast, both the 2018 adopted version and the proposed draft 2020 version, which is slated for final adoption here in the next couple of weeks with the RPC. Pretty similar, really, I think you can tell. Moving on, we look at dwelling units. So kind of you can go to any single one by going to the bottom, or they will scroll through. If you don't hover over it, it'll just kind of automatically move through them, or you can decide to move through the graphs. What we've got here is a really neat, obviously we've always had to analyze this sort of information in terms of the 3 jurisdictions. But with the advent or the adoption of the 2019 regional plan, we're also looking at this kind of information across the 5 land use tiers or regional land designations that exist. So what we're looking at here is the total number of units by jurisdiction. So there's your totals right there, both single family and multifamily. And then the last 5 years, what we've seen. So the yellow line relates to multifamily. You can see, for example, a trend in the city of Reno where multifamily units, the realization of those units has increased over the past 5 years. Let me just keep going to this one, because this is very similar, but now we're looking at that same information by those regional land designations or tiers. And I think what's very encouraging is that in the mixed use core and tier 1, where we have prioritized density of development and investment, that we are seeing that signal of multifamily increasing, right? And single family going down or leveling off. In tier 2, which is by far the largest tier in terms of acreage, single family still rules the day, but there has been some increase in multifamily units as well. You can take a look at these axes. They're kind of tough to see, but if you get into the website, you can always click on this and zoom in. We're working on some of the interactive notion here. So eventually you'll be able to hover on a dot and it will give you a value. So that's in process. But you can see in tier 3, single family as well, and no multifamily really happening to any appreciable amount in that tier over the past 5 years, and no multifamily has been occurring in the rural area. So you can continue to kind of analyze the dwelling units in that fashion. One of the other things that's interesting is that in our jurisdiction area, which is absent the tribal lands and the Tahoe Basin, there's 193,034 dwelling units as of our last accounting, which is from about January of this year. Compare that to across the entire county, 201,080. So there's a slight difference, right? There's units in incline and units that get counted, I believe, possibly as part of the tribal lands. If we keep moving down, we've also got land use information. I think this one that came up is really one of the ones I'm most excited about. I don't know why we haven't done this over the course of my time at regional planning, but now we have. And we're basically just keeping track of all of the things that we do in an official regulatory capacity. And so you can see that through the years, 15 to 19, how many master plan amendments we've taken to the RPC for a conformance review, what the total acreage that we analyzed came out to be. So in 2018, we had a really big project that we looked at. That was Stone Gate. We also are tracking the number of PRSs that come through, and we have this actually sussed out by if they're a TMSA amendment or if it's a utility corridor amendment, for instance. And finally, I'm sorry, that was for the regional plan amendments. For PRS, those sometimes go together. So it's just kind of neat that we're tracking that information now. I'm going to fast forward here to this graph, which shows our master plan land use changes. Nate Kusha on staff went back through time and read all of the old staff reports and everything and compiled all this information to find out just how many acres it actually changed. And so You can see if you're below the line, it's a removal of a certain kind of land use. Above the line, the addition. So in this case, again, we're in 2018, we're dealing with the Stonegate project. There was a loss of industrial land. That's here indicated by this blue bar going way down, where non-residential was taken away and residential and mixed use were added in. So we're actually working to refine or really make these categories more discrete. I think what's interesting is that the master planned land uses that are in the plans are tracked a little bit differently than the land uses as they come through the assessor data that we use as a basis for this. So we're working to create that crosswalk and make this more refined. But right now, what we've actually got here is the ability to look at these different land uses across the different regional land designations and see just how much of any given land use is across our landscape here in our region. And by far, single family detached, this purple color, wins the day. We moved out the rural area acreages because the rural area is all of Washoe County outside the TMSA, and it's so massive it doesn't really work on the same scale. So these are to some degree in process. You'll be able to hover on this stuff and get some real-time interactive graphs. Finally, we've put forth our consensus forecast job estimates, along with a breakdown of industry types by the national or the NAICS codes, basically the industry codes that the US puts out. So I hope you'll take a look at this when you get some free time. And here is an example of a summary. So here's a summary of the City of Reno's report, and you can click on this link below to get access to the full report, and that works for all of the folks that submitted. So with that, I'm happy to stop the share and answer any questions you guys might have about the report.
Jeremy, amazing, as usual. Holy moly. I have a question. So on the employment page, will we eventually be able to hover over that graph and get the exact numbers for any given division?
Absolutely, yes. And in fact, I think what we'll want to do is contextualize for everyone the difference between covered employment and total employment, because that's something we face all the time. It's easy to get those statistics for covered employment, so folks that are paying unemployment insurance, but if you're a sole proprietor or a realtor or certain other employment types, you're not doing that. So you're not in the most current statistics, but we do get that information through our info group data and from the Bureau of Economic Analysis. So we're constantly trying to decipher the difference between covered and total employment, but that's something we'll put on there as well.
So let me ask you a question. Would you ever call out different, let's say in the retail industry, because clothing would be very different than, let's say, somebody who owns a tile shop or a Home Depot or a Lowe's. They're very different kinds of industry, although they're both categorized as retail. But one would be more dependent on construction and growth than the other. General retail is going to happen. I mean, you're going to see spikes in retail jobs, of course, around Christmas time and et cetera, when those brick and mortar stores need more people, and then you're going to see them drop off after Christmas or during peak seasons. But is there ever a desire to kind of cull some of that information out so that it helps you to kind of drill down to see those sectors which are actually connected?
Well, absolutely. That kind of analysis can be fantastic. And actually, in our business point data, we have the full 6-digit NAICS code. So that allows you to peel away the layers. Right now, what I've shown you in that one graph was the 2-digit NAICS code. So, for example, retail is 44 and 45. But a hardware store might be 441234. Right. So we can actually extract that info and do those kinds of analysis. And we do that in support of what we give to the RTC in terms of the transportation demand model inputs. And if there was a need to do an employment analysis, we could get to that level of granularity. Definitely.
So one last question, and then I'll turn it over to anybody else. How is this tracking thus far on our consensus forecast with the housing demand model and with our population numbers?
Tracking pretty good. I mean, I think if you look at the consensus forecast, both in terms of jobs and certainly in population, our 2020 draft forecast is just slightly higher than what we were saying 2 years ago based on those data. The employment data is a little bit different story. We had a huge drop in employment. We had a big unemployment that happened in April due to COVID. And so we have not gotten back to where we were. So for our consensus forecast in 2020, we proposed, it's not adopted, but proposed a 5% downshift in what we were saying initially based on that unemployment. It's actually closer to 7.5 when you look at the CES data, but again, that total versus covered employment comes in. So we kind of took a conservative approach, but yeah, about 67,000 new jobs are predicted in the consensus forecast, starting from around a number of around 300,000 in the region.
Until 2040, is that
Till 2040, you got it.
Okay, yeah, well done. Commissioners, anyone else? Ms. Breckus, floor is yours.
Yeah, great tool. I look forward to diving into it. What was that comment about the assessor base map versus the our base map in terms? I mean, I presume he's putting a highest and best use on something.
Yeah. Great catch.
Yeah.
So what we tried to do initially, we wanted to show land uses in this TMAR based solely on the master plan land use categories that exist in the three master plans of Washoe, Sparks, and Reno. And so we created a crosswalk of that, and we bundled things into 7 categories we were calling TMRPA land use. But then when you start to look at what's actually built and how it is codified by the assessor in their land use category, we found that there are some mismatches. So townhomes may be listed as single family in the assessor data, but they may show up in a multifamily polygon or area in a master plan. So we're going to just try to suss out exactly where those little discrepancies lie, so we're giving you an accurate accounting of both master plan land use and as what the assessor says on the ground.
Yeah, okay, I understand. I mean, typically, that's very typical when you do a plan, you do existing land use, and that's what governs the assessor. He goes out, he or she sees what's out there. Then you do your proposed and planned, and you do have, gets into nonconformities and all, but it seems very fine-grained, though, to get into that at the regional level. It seems to me that's more of a sub-plan area approach you want to do.
Yeah, we were honestly trying to keep it pretty general, and it kind of at a 7-category regional level, something like single family, multifamily, commercial, industrial, that sort of thing. And I think we just need a little more time to negotiate some of those discrepancies as you described, because you're absolutely right. I mean, when the Reimagine Reno plan was adopted, for instance, a polygon could have been drawn over an existing built area that was for an employment use, but it could have had some houses in it already, that kind of thing.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yep.
Ms. Stewart, I see that your microphone is unmuted. Did you want the floor?
No, I have only on video on the computer, and I'm on phone, so I'll just speak or raise my hand.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Yeah, Ms. Holland, Ms. Simon Holland.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Jeremy, amazing work, and I wonder what the plan is for publicizing it and making it widely available to folks. Are you going to have a PR campaign to market this great tool?
Thank you for that great question. Yes, we were waiting for today to make sure you guys saw it first after the RPC, and then we'll start immediately with some social media posts that will probably boost to try to get the word out and make sure that our jurisdictional partners and all of the folks that submitted their reports, we've let them know this is happening, but make sure that they're also hopefully helping us to spread the word. But yeah, we definitely want to get the word out. Just want to make sure you guys were aware first of all.
Well, I think it deserves TV reporting and and newspaper reporting, because this is absolutely fantastic. So great tool, great job on all of it, and I think it's going to be really valuable. It's so great to see the context and the trends and to see it graphically represented like that. I think it's much more useful for decision makers, and just kudos. And I know any of us who have public information staffs, I'm sure, would be willing to help get connected to to TV and others to get this out there.
Okay, thank you for that. I think that's great advice, and we'll fold that in so we can do a press release.
Okay, great. Ms. Stewart, Madam Chair, floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I just wanted to echo the comments of my colleagues. When Jeremy first shared this with me, I too was blown away with the utility of it, the ability to see the trend data. We've never had anything like this. And the annual report has always been a very dry document that is, it's just a bunch of words on the page, very hard to interpret. So many people are visual and the picture paints 1,000 words. So this is, I think, a huge improvement over what we've had. I think it's a really a major step forward. Thank you.
Mr. Vice Chair, could I say one more thing? I just wanted to give a shout out to a staff member at Team RPA, Shawnee Sousa, who it's really her brilliance with Photoshop and InDesign and Illustrator and all the great Adobe tools that allows this thing to look so amazingly good. So thank you so much to Cho.
Well done.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? So Jeremy, you realize now you've just raised your bar once again. And so now next time we're going to be expecting even more bells and whistles and the ability to drill down more, you know, how far it is from an average dwelling unit to shopping, walkable neighborhoods, and all kinds of information that could be very useful for us as policymakers. So I mean, I'm really looking forward to digging into this. These are very, very useful numbers.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see. Do we need any action on this?
There is a motion on page 33. It's basically just a motion to accept the report.
Yeah. Okay. No, I just wondered if we needed any other action other than just accepting the report.
Nope.
Okay. Do we have any public comment on this? Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Breckus, go ahead. The floor is yours.
I thought we weren't taking action and moving on, and I was going to ask if we could move on to 7E.
Yeah, we can certainly take that out of order. Yeah. So let me just get through this. They've asked us to just accept the report. Mr. Kerwin, are there any members in the chat room or anyone wishing to speak on this item? Any public comment?
We have none for this item.
Okay, is there anyone in the chat room wishing to speak at this time? Okay, seeing none, I will close public comment and I will entertain a motion to accept the report.
I'll make a motion to accept the report, Dewar.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second? Was that your hand up, Ms.
Abbott.
Breckus? Okay, Ms. Breckus' hand was up. I'm sorry, Mr. Abbott. So I have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. At the request of Ms. Breckus, and I understand completely, we've only got 15 minutes. I'm going to close item 7B and open item 7E, discussion and possible direction to review regional land designation boundary locations, i.e. tiers. Dr. Smith.
I thank Commissioner Hartung. Once again, it'll be me to take us through this report. I'm going to share the screen theoretically. 7E, share. Okay, are you guys seeing the PowerPoint?
We are.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, well, the adoption of the 2019 regional plan last October allowed for the establishment of these regional land designations, or they're often referred to as tiers, within the TMSA and for what we call the rural area. So we have 5 regional land designations: the mixed use core, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and the rural area outside the TMSA. These were intended to refine our regional form. We knew that through our data work that we had more capacity in the TMSA than we would realize in a 20-year period, and it really had been designed to be a 20-year service boundary. And so, we did the scenario work, we looked at different ways to realize that, and the tiering really was a result of that, where we wanted to focus growth and density into the mixed use core, and then also into tier 1, and then tier 2 really is the area within which we feel that infrastructure and services have been provided or have been planned for, and therefore can support the kind of densities that tier 2 would support. And then the tier 3, which is an area still inside the TMSA, is an area that's either built at a fairly low density or doesn't have infrastructure and services available and is sagebrush at this time. So that's kind of how it got structured. And as part of the motion to adopt the plan, the Regional Planning Governing Board, you guys indicated that you wanted us to bring back in a year a review of those boundaries to see how that's doing. To date, we haven't had a tremendous amount of interest in changing them, but there certainly are a couple of areas that have come up, and those are the ones that we've put into the staff report today. We also think that as we continue down the path in advance of the next update of both the Public Infrastructure Investment Plan and Natural Resources Plan, that will help us to refine these boundaries as well. But those efforts are yet haven't really begun in earnest. So we need to. That's next on the docket. So we talked about that. The two sites are, number one, the UNR Farms main station. So that came up quite a bit during discussions during the 3 RPC meetings in advance of adoption, and also at our meeting in October last year. And what you can see on the map there is that the UNR Farms property over there off of McCarran is actually separated into the City of Reno's SOI and the City of Sparks' SOI. During the update, the City of Sparks chose to designate that area as Tier 3, largely owing to the flooding potential over there. And the City of Reno took a different approach and designated their part as Tier 2, which was fairly typical across all of the City of Reno sphere areas with a couple of exceptions. So it wasn't like targeted to this area per se. What we know is that the University of Nevada has been in I think a years-long process to develop a conservation easement for this area that they can market to someone to purchase and theoretically as some sort of tax write-off, but that would bind this property absent a small 40-acre portion at the south end of this parcel, which they don't want to include in the easement, but it's roughly a 762-acre area that would be, if purchased, that easement would maintain the function of the farm and the uses for flood mitigation and effluent disposal in perpetuity. Now, that was slated for a meeting in September of the Board of Regents to accept the proposed conservation easement, take it to market, and authorize the president at that time to sell, to enter into negotiations. They weren't quite ready, and I spoke with staff at the university, and that's looking like that's going to come along in the December timeframe. And so we just want to make you aware that we're reviewing this area. We're in contact with them. We wanted to get any feedback or discussion you might have about it. For any sort of potential amendment, initially there was concern that given the flood risk over there, that all of it should be in the 3rd tier. We though acknowledge that the UNR folks are in good faith attempting to get the easement adopted, which would really achieve a great end result that I think we're all actually after. So at this time, we don't have a recommendation for an amendment. We just want to keep it on the radar that that's what's happening and continue to review that. This next site was something that we found by doing this annual review. We simply were looking at where we had boundaries that, where the boundaries have been drawn. And what we noticed is that there's a large chunk here. It's about 2,800 acres of land that's Forest Service. And I think I actually said there was 4 parcels in my staff report, but I learned today by looking closely again that it is 5. But it's about 2,800 acres. They're all owned by the USFS. That little small rectangle you can barely see, that little dot, that's a Union Pacific Railroad parcel. So that might also be subject to a potential tier amendment, really, or TMSA amendment, to take this chunk out of the TMSA. It's Forest Service land. Therefore, it's development constrained per the regional plan, but it also is outside of that purple line, which defines the existing draft of the Public Lands Bill, the Washoe County Public Land Management Act bill that has been drafted. And so we've called the Forest Service. We haven't heard back yet. I have talked initially with the City of Reno staff about, what they think were their plans for this. We want to continue that discussion, but this could be a quick win if it's not going to be disposed of during the lands bill and it's not going to be built on. I guess we're just asking the question of why is it in the TMSA? So this could be a good candidate for a simple amendment to change that boundary. Other than that, we didn't really find any other areas. Again, we anticipate that we will be able to do a better job of that as we get deeper into especially the public infrastructure investment plan. I have heard from certain, folks around the region, planners, about people own property, and they've inquired informally about changing the tier designation on their properties. The only formal submittal, this bullet's no longer correct because we haven't heard item 7C yet, but we will hear item 7C today, and that was the first official formal request to change the TMSA and to add a 34-acre parcel into the tier 2 lands in Sparks. But we also wanted to make sure that each of you had a chance to let us know if you think that there are areas for further review, and we'd be happy to go out there and do a little more research, and we can bring that research back to the December meeting.
Okay, Ms. Breckus, I know you wanted to move this up. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, and actually, I think it's helpful that it moved it up above the other item because it helps clarify some things to me. First of all, great presentation. I think when you say, I'm in support of the forest lands bill, lands coming out of the TMSA, but when you say it's not in the lands bill, there is not a lands bill. There are people who advocate for lands bills. There are people who are not advocating for lands bills, but there is not one in existence that has been submitted, as far as I know, in Washington, D.C. So I just, I like to say lands bills disposal concepts maybe, but that's not my point. The point really is the university farms. When I came on in 2012, that development request was pending, and I came on midstream to it. I was not on the winning side of that, but a large commitment of a plan unit development non-residential project was approved by the Reno City Council there. And I'm a little concerned that I don't know that the UNR is working on a conservation easement. That has not come in any formal way to the Reno City Council, who has the regulatory oversight of that land use that has been approved but not built. And so I'm uncomfortable regional moving forward in any way. I think that, and I haven't looked at that PUD in maybe 4 or 5 years, but I'm concerned that if we jump the gun and move ahead and do something land use with that gives them some flexibility to jog around some land uses within that approval that may or may not preempt authority of Reno City Council. So I would opine that just like Sparks has come forward with an amendment, that an amendment, if there should be one to that, should come forward from the city of Reno, where they have engaged with the applicant, whether it's UNR or someone else. That's how I view it. I know you've got some cross complexity there because it's also in Sparks SOI, but I view it that way. And if there's conversations going on about an easement, conservation easement that you're having with them, I wanted everyone to know they're not having those with the Reno City because it hasn't come before the council. So thank you.
Okay. Anyone else wishing to speak at this time? Ms. Dewar, Madam Chair, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I too have, as you recall, and I was very grateful to this board for authorizing revisiting the tiers about a year after we adopted the plan. And one of the reasons was this discrepancy between Sparks and Reno in terms of what tier it's in. I actually supported where Sparks was. I thought the whole property should be in tier 3. But Jeremy's been keeping me apprised of his conversations with the university, and it sounds like they are close. And I guess my question would be, if they bring it to the Board of Regents in December, and we have a December meeting, and they agree to a conservation easement for all of that land, would we then, what would you think, Ms. Breckus, would we have TMRPA initiate the change to tier 3 to coincide with the conservation easement, or are you thinking we would have to initiate something at Reno?
Well, I think our staff needs to look at the PUD and understand and outline to us if there's any ramifications to that PUD in terms of putting the conservation easement forward. And then I think the city of Reno should move forward with it. I haven't looked at that PUD. Sometimes in the PUDs, there's a little bit of flexibility in motion. And for example, if the conservation easement that they have, has a density of X, does that then move density over to another part of the property where I think the Reno City Council needs to look at it in a transparent process. Although sometimes that flexibility in those PUDs is reserved to the holder of that entitlement. And so it's rather complex, but I think it's something that's best analyzed down at Reno and then coming forward, just like Sparks is coming forward on this other one. So I would say Reno should bring it forward.
The floor is still yours. I know Mr. Lawson still wants to speak as well.
Okay, well, just to follow up, I think Jeremy's recommendation is to leave it alone for now, but is your recommendation to bring it back in December? Should the university go forward with this conservation easement? That's question one. And number two, I don't think the PUD is part of the lands that they'd be getting the conservation easement on. And number three, I just wanted to say I wasn't on the council then. I think this was in 2012. Neither Mr. Reese nor I nor Ms. Weber were on in 2012 when that went forward. And I recall it because I wrote a letter not supporting it as an individual prior to being elected. So the question to Jeremy is just, what would you do if the conservation easement comes forward? What would be your step?
Well, I think you're absolutely correct just to say that the PUD that I think is owned now by Reno Land along McCarran is outside of the identified area. So that's already not part of the easement. It's the remaining 762 acres of that farmland, absent that small southern portion, which I believe is in the Sparks sphere of influence. So in December, the plan, as I understand it, they pulled their item, which was on the September 10th Board of Regents agenda, to authorize marketing the easement and the negotiation power to the president. That's, I think, as far as it will get by December. And so I don't know that we want to try and do an amendment process, and because basically, as they understand it, or as they explain it, if we were to change that City of Reno sphere of influence area to the third tier, that, in their estimation, would devalue the conservation easement and make it tougher to sell. And so if the end goal is preservation of that land, and if the conservation easement can achieve that in perpetuity, I think that's a really great end goal. And the tiering is sort of to some degree secondary. That said, if it just languishes as a conservation easement that may or may not happen, that's not really great either. So I think we just need to give them enough runway to get the thing out there and try and market it. And I would add that the existing, to your point, Councilwoman Breckus, that the City of Reno should bring this forward. The existing land uses from City of Reno master plan on the site are open space and public, quasi-public. And so they would have to go through, if for some reason, given the tier 2 designation, they would still need to go through a master plan conformance review process to change any of that, initiated by the City of Reno, and you and I are working together to get anything to actually develop on that land. And at that time, we could have a different discussion as well.
But again, if they approve it in December, are you planning to bring something forward in December?
No.
I still haven't quite.
If they were to say pull it again in December, and possibly you guys as a regional planning governing board don't want to wait anymore for them to be successful or not, we could propose via the RPC or this body sponsorship of an amendment to change it to tier 3. But I would honestly say that I'm not recommending that we do that. My recommendation would be that we see if they can pull it off.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Lawson, the garage floor is yours.
Thank you. Yeah. And I'm going to agree that I think it has to go back through Reno before you do anything. And it shouldn't, number one, the Board of Regents has no ability for zoning, or creating ordinances. So they can say whatever they want. It doesn't make a hill of beans until Reno says it's good and it's going to work. That's my 2 cents.
Okay. I know, Ms. Breckus, we're tight for time. Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Okay, seeing none. Mr. Kerwin, do we have any public comment on this item?
There's none for this item.
Is there anyone in the chat room wishing to speak at this time? Okay, I will accept a motion to accept the report. So moved, Reese. Do I have a second?
Second, Lawson.
Have a motion by Mr. Reese, second by Mr. Lawson. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Breckus. So let me do that. We are done with 7E. We will go back now to 7C, a public hearing, a regional plan amendment for the Five Ridges RPA 20-002, possible adoption of RPGB resolution 20-03 regarding a mapping amendment to the 2019 Truckee Meadows Regional Plan. And as memory serves me correctly, Mr. Smith, this is just really it's a utility easement more than anything, isn't it? So that they can get water from Sun Valley GID to the Five Ridges project and infrastructure. Is that correct?
That is a component of it, yes. And there's a slight reconfiguration as well, which Chris Tolley will take us through. Would you like me to read the remainder of the item in, or?
Please, go right ahead.
Okay, you got it. So it ended with the regional plan. So I, as the request seeking inclusion, this is item 7C, request seeking inclusion of a 34.71 acre parcel into the Truckee Meadows service area from the rural area. Number 2, for request seeking inclusion of the subject parcel into Tier 2 land. And 3, for a request to add the subject parcel to the City of Sparks' sphere of influence, or SOI. The 34.71 acre parcel is generally located at 555 Highland Ranch Parkway, and Regional Planner Chris Tolley is going to take us through that analysis.
Mr. Tolley.
Yes, I'm going to get going. Thank you very much. I am going to share my screen and conduct the presentation. You can hopefully see the presentation.
We see it.
Yes.
Awesome. Good evening, Regional Planning Governing Board members. Chris Tolley, Team RPA. Thanks for the opportunity to present regarding the Five Ridges Regional Plan Amendment. The Five Ridges proposal includes an amendment to the 2019 Truckee Meadows Regional Plan, that's Team RPA case RPA 20-002, for the inclusion of the subject site in the Truckee Meadows service area from the rural area. The regional plan amendment will be detailed further on the following slide. For the Five Ridges project, the Regional Planning Commission and regional planning staff have concluded that the request conforms with the 2019 Truckee Meadows Regional Plan. And finally, the regional form map is shown on the right. The subject site is currently located in the rural area, adjacent to the City of Sparks corporate boundary and the existing Five Ridges entitlement. The Five Ridges proposed amendment to the 2019 regional plan includes the request for inclusion in the Truckee Meadows service area from the rural area, the request for inclusion into Tier 2 land, and the request to be added to the City of Sparks' sphere of influence. These changes will result in amendments to Map 1, which would indicate the City of Sparks SOI and Sparks city limits. Map 2, which would indicate the inclusion in the TMSA and Tier 2 land from the rural area. And Map 3 and 4, which would show the TMSA boundary change. And finally, the City of Sparks has a long-standing history of effectively and dutifully managing regional planning concepts applicable to their jurisdiction, such as the Truckee Meadows service area boundary. And in a related manner, the City of Sparks staff approached the subject case with an emphasis on being excellent regional partners and wanted to ensure that the requisite regional planning approvals or regional approvals were in place prior to the Sparks City Council acting on the annexation. To continue with the overview, the Regional Planning Commission determined that the associated City of Sparks Comprehensive Plan Amendment, and that is Team RPA case CR 20-016, conform with the 2019 Regional Plan, and this component does not require RPGB approval. This conformance review case, being a part of the overall proposal, is to apply the City of Sparks land uses of intermediate density residential and open space to the subject site. The intermediate density residential land use is proposed for approximately 10 acres on the east side of the property, and the open space is proposed for approximately 24.71 acres on the west side of the property. We'll continue with a Couple additional items. The quarry, which is TMRPA case CR 18-005, was previously heard by the RPC, and both the City of Sparks Comprehensive Plan Amendment and associated project of regional significance were found in conformance with the 2012 Regional Plan. And furthermore, the Five Ridges development was also reviewed recently through TMRPA case CR 20-015 to amend the comprehensive plan land use designation from IDR and commercial to multifamily residential MF14 on approximately 28.81 acres. This was also found in conformance with the RPC. And continuing with background of the City of Sparks, a couple additional notes. On July 27th of this year, the Sparks City Council sponsored an amendment to the 2019 Regional Plan. The proposal, as analyzed by the City of Sparks, includes amendment of the existing development agreement to reflect inclusion of the subject site, an annexation request, a comprehensive plan amendment, rezone, and the sponsorship previously mentioned. Finally, the City of Sparks process, generally speaking, includes review by the Sparks Planning Commission, and then regional planning, and then final review by the Sparks City Council. And through the 2019 Regional Plan Update, the TMSA was further refined by the regional land designations. The agreed upon framework was to increase scrutiny of proposals that sought inclusion in the TMSA or to change regional land designations. The primary policy addressing these components is Policy RF5, which sets a review criteria for inclusion in the TMSA and to change regional land designations, and in this case, the Tier 2 land. This policy is essentially a finding that the RPC and RPGB are required to make through the review process and is embedded in Policy RC10, which we will cover on the following slides. A couple highlights: TMSA amendments may occur once per year, except for those that can make a higher threshold regarding health and welfare of the region. And when considering a regional land designation change, TMRPA will review the request as a whole, including any associated components. And both of these were addressed by the proposal, both of these components. Next, we'll briefly introduce the policies or the policy regarding regional plan amendments. The case being considered today requires regional planning review and approval. The primary 2019 regional plan policy for this case is Policy RC10, which specifies the criteria to be considered for a regional plan amendment, of which Policy RF5, which we talked about in the previous slide, is a component. Additionally, the RPC considers Policy RC9, conformance review findings, and determined that the conformance review request, or that the request conform with the regional plan. Continuing from the previous slide, Policy RC10 identifies the 7 criteria that the RPC and RPGB must consider when evaluating a regional plan amendment. In regard to the criteria, or all the criteria, RPC and staff found that the proposal to include the subject site in the TMSA, Tier 2, and Sparks SOI conforms with the regional plan. Here are a few highlights of staff's analysis for criteria 1 through 5. The existing Five Ridges entitlement does not propose additional units. The proposal will benefit existing development to the west and the existing or planned Five Ridges development. The existing Five Ridges development agreement provides for infrastructure to serve the site, including the subject property. The request is not anticipated to significantly impact natural resources, and there are no anticipated intergovernmental impacts. Regarding criteria 6, the vision, goals, and policies of the regional plan, the RPC and staff has reviewed the criteria and policy RF5 and determined that the requested actions conform. In particular, the inclusion into the TMSA from the RA and into Tier 2 land provides for circulation improvements, infrastructure delivery, continuity for land use planning, addresses a regional need for open space, and doesn't shift the community-wide infrastructure investment pattern regarding the priority tiers. Regarding policy RC2, sphere of influence, the City of Sparks conferred regarding the proposal, provided adequate rationale for the proposal, and provided the accompanying comprehensive plan amendment to reflect the land use changes. And regarding criteria 7, the proposal is not anticipated to negatively impact the health and welfare of the community. And finally, Team RPA anticipates no additional impacts from the proposal. Those were identified when the original project was approved. In conclusion, the previous slides presented a summary of the proposal and staff's analysis. As noted, the RPC and staff recommended approval of the proposal through the adoption of RPGB Resolution 20-03, adopting all the amendments to all maps of the 2019 Turkey Meadows Regional Plan. So the proposed motion is listed on the screen or is located on page 44 of the meeting packet. This concludes my presentation. However, staff from Team RPA, the City of Sparks, and the project owners are available for questions. Thank you.
Okay, well done. Commissioners, are there any questions? Okay, Ms. Dewar, the floor is yours.
Just a really quick question. I was unclear how big the current site is and how big the subject site is in terms of acres.
The subject site is 34.71 acres, and I don't know the existing Five Ridges development, but if Sienna from the City of Sparks wants to let us know that, go ahead.
Yes, if I could, Madam Chair, for the record, Sienna Reed with the City of Sparks. So the existing Five Ridges project site is just about 387 acres. So adding this additional 34.71 acres would bring it up to a total of 421 and change.
Okay, so it's really just a little over 10%.
Yep.
Okay, that's, I mean, it seemed like a de minimis add to me, and I just want to, on the map, but I wanted to make sure in the actual acreages. Thank you.
And as I understand it, it was really more, the addition was for infrastructure being brought in because the Sun Valley GID is actually, if you recall, Ms. Dewar, supplying them with water. We gave the Sun Valley GID a little more water in their wholesale purchase agreement to cover this additional parcel because the proximity of the infrastructure. Are there any other questions? Okay, Mr. Kerwin, is there anyone wishing to speak under public comment?
There's none for this item.
Is there anyone in the chat room wishing to speak at this time? Okay, seeing none, I will close public comment and I will entertain a motion.
Move approval.
I have a motion by Commissioner Burke-Bigler. Do I have a second? Sorry, I couldn't see everyone. The screen was blipped out for a moment. Second by Mr. Dare. So I have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Motion carries unanimously, and let the record show that Ms. Breckus has left the meeting. Okay. Item 7D, public hearing, the regional plan amendment, annual review and update of the regional plan RPA 20-003. And I'll finish reading it this time. Mr. Smith, I apologize.
No worries.
Possible adoption of the RPGB resolution 20-04 regarding grammatical and mapping corrections amendment to the 2019 Truckee Meadows Regional Plan resulting from an annual review and an update of the regional plan conducted by the RPC pursuant to NRS 278-0272. I cannot believe that there would be grammatical errors in that little tiny plan.
There aren't many. Thank you, Commissioner Hartung. We have, again, Chris Tolley, Regional Planner, to take us through the short number of edits.
I'm going to share my screen once again, so hold on a second. Hopefully you can see that. Hello, once again, Regional Planning Governing Board members, Chris Tolley, Team RPA. Thanks for the opportunity to present regarding the annual regional plan updates. First, the 2019 regional plan was adopted by the RPGB on October 10, 2019. Following adoption, staff began to build a list of grammatical and mapping corrections to be fixed during the annual review of the regional plan as required by the Nevada Revised Statutes. Regional Plan Amendment Case RPA 20-003, which is this one, presents the specific updates and corrections to the RPC and RPGB. Finally, the RPC and regional planning staff concluded or concludes that the proposed amendments conform with the goals and policies of the 2019 regional plan. As prefaced, the NRS subsection shown on the screen identifies that the regional plan should be reviewed annually for potential updates by the Regional Planning Commission. In regard to the regional plan amendment process, the RPC hears the item initially in order to make a recommendation to the RPGB. The RPGB then conducts a public hearing in order to consider adoption of the amendment, which we are conducting in this item. Corrections to the 2019 regional plan include grammatical corrections, minor text refinements for further clarity, reference corrections, date and cover page corrections to other documents referenced incorrectly, and adjustments for consistency. Finally, all sections of the plan were affected. And next we will look at the full size. Oh, it doesn't show the graphic. Full size of the regional plan correction sheet. So it should have shown that on the slide, but we'll look at that here. So this is the full list of the changes, also provided as an attachment to the staff report. And if there are any questions, we can return to this slide. I'm going to go over policy RC10. It identifies the 7 criteria that the RPC and RPGB must consider when evaluating a regional plan amendment. For the subject amendment, detailed on the previous slide, the proposed grammatical and mapping corrections to the 2019 regional plan are not anticipated to impact any of the criteria listed in this policy. As noted, the RPC and staff found that the amendment conforms with the regional plan. And finally, the previous slides presented a summary of the proposal or the proposed amendment and staff's analysis. The proposed motion is listed on this slide or on page 68 of the meeting packet. This concludes staff's presentation, and we are available for any questions. Thanks.
Okay, all right. Thank you for outlining why this is thus and the reason for this thusness. Do I have any questions for staff? Okay, seeing none. Do we have any public comment on this item, Mr. Kerwin?
Like a broken record over here. There's no public comment for this item either.
Well done. Thank you. Okay, seeing none, I will entertain a motion. Check your pulses.
Doer, motion to approve.
Okay, I have a motion by Chair Dewar. Do I have a second?
Second, Abbott.
Second, Mr. Abbott. Okay, so I have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, staff, thank you again. That takes us to item 7F, informational presentation, discussion, and possible direction to staff regarding the fiscal year 22 budget. Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Commissioner Hartung. I'll be taking us through this informational presentation, so I'll pull that up and attempt here to share the screen correctly this time. Okay, are we seeing the title page there?
We are.
Thank you very much. Okay, so just really, here's the idea. I mean, you guys have asked in the past that we get way out in advance of the jurisdictional process for budgeting, and we start thinking about our next year's budget at this October meeting. We started that practice last year, and so we're continuing that today, and we just want to make sure that you're aware of, where we are at in terms of coming from our audited statement for the 18-19 year, how 19-20 turned out, how this year's going, and what we anticipate for next year. So starting with our audited the audit we just presented, I think it was back on the August agenda on consent, was the 18-19 fiscal year, right? And they did our financial statements, and that came to the very sort of official end. But also, coming up here soon in the spring, we'll have to do the audit for this budget year. But we have the numbers, and so generally, both revenues and expenditures were lower than budgeted. So what ended up happening is that we had to dig into about $14,000 from the fund balance, which had been identified officially in the financial statement by the auditors at the end of 19, as around $98,000. So yeah, we used that 14,000, and that had to do with not billing for all of the monies that we received from the NDEP grant to do source water protection and non-point source pollution work. And it was really just a function of all of the work we were doing to get the regional plan adopted, and we wanted to be laser focused on that, and so we didn't go down any other rabbit holes. We are currently working on that project, and we have been billing, so we are going to get those monies. Also, there's the $115,800 that we received in this fiscal year, 1920, that we have not spent, that we have well, we've maybe spent $100 to help make that TMAR a reality, but to basically fund work on the Truckee Meadows Annual Report, the Public Infrastructure Investment Plan, and the Natural Resources Plan, those initiatives, or any other contingencies. So that money really, I don't really count as part of our fund balance, even though it is included in there on the next slide, because it isn't, we do have the money. So I didn't quite finish this slide, but I'll take you here to show you what's going on. You can see that our budget is this first column. It was pretty aggressive. It included the 115,000, which we did receive, but we did not spend. And so what we actually ended up getting was just slightly less than what we had budgeted for. And we actually ended up spending quite a bit less, but because 115,000 of that we're taking off the top, it ends up being about a $14,000 hit to our fund balance. Okay, so we're still in pretty good shape. That's a pretty good fund balance. It's better than I thought it was last year when I made the budget. So based on getting those financial statements, we're in actually a slightly better position. The estimate to complete 2021. So now we're through the first quarter of this fiscal year. And in fact, we're coming in under budget. So we have about a $7,600 income right now as it stands, which is pretty cool. And that includes that bonus that you guys gave us that we have doled out and split between the staff. So we're doing pretty good. We're not, we're saving money in a big way, just not making copies or printing anything because we're all working from home. So we pay for the printer, but we're not paying the additional cost for all those copies. We're on track, and I'll go ahead and go right to the graph. We're on track to end up at the end of the year, maybe digging into the fund balance for $639. But that is assuming that what we've budgeted and everything we've got in the budget has to be paid out through the next 3 quarters. So I'm still doing more research on whether or not that's actually going to happen. I think this number could end up being slightly higher or lower, but I don't think we're going to have any significant hit to our fund balance going forward, and that will still have basically 199,000 in that range. We'll have the $115,800 to do the PIP and NR plan stuff, and we'll still have almost $83,500 sitting in the fund balance as well. So we're looking really good, I think, in terms of our position. A couple things that could help augment this would be on consent was an item from One Truckee River, another 5,000 coming in that we hadn't thought of. So that's could probably come in this year. And if we are able and successful in submitting a proposal for coronavirus relief funds, that also could help augment our budget. So I think we're looking really good in terms of what we came up with a budget for this fiscal year. I'm gonna come back to this one. I will go here. I think one key thing is that we discussed last year and in February when we adopted this year's budget that we didn't want to have to go back to the jurisdictions and ask for any more increase to the allocations for fiscal year 21-22. That seems correct. I don't think we're going to have to ask for any increase. So the number that's being paid to us today should be the number that we end up getting next year from each of the jurisdictions. 2 areas that I do want to explore are working with the RTC to get back to kind of the original dollar amount of the shared services program. We started that program back when I started in regional planning back in 2011-12 timeframe at 100,000. Since then, it's gone from 100. Sometimes we've gotten 75, sometimes 60, and that's dependent on, I think, the funding they receive as well. What I'd really like to do is try to get back to 100 and use that additional funds to help hire a dedicated GIS technician that can make sure that they're on top of all of the RTC needs. As you guys have said in the past, and as you might imagine, I'm a bit of a split personality right now. Damien's been doing an amazing job picking up the slack on the GIS side, but I still have some things I have to do, and so it's tough to get it all done. So I think having that discussion with the RTC about maybe bumping back up to 100,000 if possible, to make sure that we can be agile and timely in the delivery of those GIS services to them to support the plan updates and whatever other stuff they've got going on. Further, we've had several over time monetary relationships with the Western Regional Water Commission. We had a big over $300,000 grant that had been awarded to us when I had first started to enable scenario planning. Well, we've done now scenario planning, and we have that capacity, and we actually ended up giving back over $100,000 back to the WRWC because we didn't have to spend that money to achieve it. They have given us $20,000 or so to do a stormwater study, and then we've also done other work for them in terms of demand calculations for sewer and water that helps feed the regional water management plan. So I've started some discussions with Chris Wessel over there at the Western Regional Water Commission about potentially creating a more formalized shared services program like we have with RTC for the WRWC on the order of $20,000 or $25,000. So that's something that hopefully I'll have more to report on soon. And then finally, some final budget assumptions. As I mentioned, no increases to the jurisdictional allotment. Those would stay the same. We still have the potential for up to 5% merit-based increases that you guys approved with our last budget for staff. That's not including me. That's just for the 4 folks. Using some of that $115,000 or all of it, depending on how successful we are in getting hardware, software, or consulting help to accomplish the PIP and the NR plan. Finishing out if there's anything left of that NDP non-point source pollution grant funding, and also RCI, Resource Concept Inc. He's always trying to throw money at us too to help them with their GIS viewers. So that could be a potential source. Here I mentioned the GIS technician. Still would be happy to get a part-time office administrator and interns. I would say that during the pandemic and working from home, it's been pretty darn difficult to onboard people for those tasks. It's sort of a thing where you have to bring them up to speed, but we're gonna redouble our efforts and try to get some intern help and some office administration help as well. And that's all built into the existing budget too. So I think we're looking really good. And basically the idea with the motion would be, I think that, you guys just tell me to go out there and build that budget and bring it back for the December meeting so we can look again and make sure that it is looking where you want it to be, and then we could bring it back for formal adoption in February. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
The slide that showed the GIS tech, hold on just a second, Mr. Lawson. Is that going to be a temporary position, or are we looking at that as a full-time addition to regional planning staff?
I think it would be slated initially as a part-time position, 20 hours a week, to try to bring somebody in. And that's kind of how I started as well. And in fact, I think almost everyone except Chris that's on the staff today, it started at some sort of technician or intern level and has worked their way into a full position, after proving their worth. So I feel like the place to start is to get a temporary position and then see how it goes.
Okay, and I'll let Mr. Lawson ask some questions. I've got another question and a comment here in just a second. Mr. Lawson, the floor is yours.
Well, Jeremy, can we get, if you bring a GIS person on though, can you bill them out for more than what we're paying them?
I'll have to check on that. I think we usually bill out for just the overhead costs, the salary plus overhead costs for the person. But it's more of a...
We talked about that. I know I talked about it with Kim when she was there, the 100,000 from RTC and 25 from Western Regional. I mean, just start looking at those GIS positions that you're filling the need of a GIS position that maybe Washoe County, Sparks, or Reno has to hire, that when they have some overload, they can send it to you guys and pay you for it.
Okay, absolutely. I'll factor that in.
And then one other question now, how many of you are working from home?
Currently, all 5 of us are working from home most days, and we come in as necessary. I'll come in to do some printing or packet production, or I'm here for the meeting to make sure I have a good internet connection to host this meeting and come in to sign checks, that kind of thing. But we're still working from home. We basically meet every morning at 9:30 on Zoom, and we set out the day's tasks together briefly for about 20 minutes or half hour. Sometimes it's longer if we have a lot to talk about. And we're getting it done from home.
Well, I want you to kind of think about this in your planning too. the city of Sparks, you know, we were outgrowing our city hall big time, and we were going to have to spend hundreds of millions of dollars to build a new city hall or add on or whatever we had to do. We're through Zoom and through this new reality that we have, we're finding we're just as effective working from home, and we're looking at maybe keeping our same city hall and then having workspaces where if you do need to come in, that you can do that. But I think the thing we got to do, and what we did with Sparks, is we outfitted everybody with a computer, and we're actually looking at some software right now where you can dial up, say 1, 2, 3, and as long as you're in front of your computer, your face pops up, and you and I can have a conversation just like I dialed you on an extension at home. So that technology is pretty sweet, and it keeps you in touch, but then it takes away that need for the big space to rent. You know, because then you don't really need a conference room anymore. You don't really need a receptionist. I mean, there's a lot of things that come with not having an office or having a limited office space.
Absolutely, those are great comments, and that definitely has been part of our conversation. We were recognizing that we need a place to put this printer, and you know, maybe a place to meet and some workstations, but possibly we could downsize. And interestingly, I haven't heard anything about it since the COVID thing has hit. But prior to that, I was having discussions with the building management here at the RTC building, and they were planning a big remodel. And so they were going to temporarily move us over to their Sutro offices. We were going to set up there for a year or a year and a half while they remodeled this. And there were options that we could choose in terms of square footage. And so now, given the conditions that you're talking about and where we're at, maybe we can make a different decision on how we utilize that square footage and keep rent down and keep the cost down.
I mean, it makes perfect sense to me. I think we're in a new reality that is going to move forward. And the less we have to spend on office space, the more we have to spend on the important things like people.
Excellent.
Thank you.
And I think we're just as effective, and it's actually very convenient. So it saves on. We don't have to open up the chambers, whether it's in Sparks or Washoe County or the city of Reno, wherever we happen to be moving to. And so I think I think that there's some real opportunities for savings here. And I do know also that, and of course this would be board motion from the WRWC, but I know that we're talking about having some additional components to the stormwater mapping. We got conveyance channels essentially taken care of. I know there's probably still a little bit more work to do on that, but now the next really big step of volumetric flows through those conveyance channels is a very, very important aspect. And then I know I had some conversations with Mr. Abbott. He is willing to take over the virtual coffee and donuts, so you can take that out of the budget now.
I'm the donut connoisseur. I got you guys. No problem.
Virtual coffee.
Thank you.
Emojis.
You sit there and eat them, and we watch you. That's how it works, Donald. Okay. Any other questions from the board? Mr. Hajakis, with your thumb up this entire time, I love that from SOSU TV. So I'm going to take that as a no. Seeing none, what do you? There's a motion.
There's a motion. It could be as simple as to accept the report and to bring back further information in December's meeting.
Understood. Okay. I'll accept a motion. I'll entertain it.
Motion from Dewar to bring back an update at our next meeting.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Chair Dewar, second by Commissioner Burke-Bigler. Is there any other discussion? Before we go there, is there any public comment, Mr. Kerwin?
There's none for this item.
Okay, is there anyone in the chat room wishing to speak? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Ms. Herman, are you an aye? I didn't see you come off of mute. Okay. I'll say motion carries unanimously. I could not hear Ms. Herman's vote. Okay.
I've asked her to unmute. I think it's *669 maybe is the unmuting for Zoom.
Okay, let's move on. Item number 8. 8A, Washington County School District Board of Trustees member report. Ms. Simon Holland, the floor is completely yours, and I promise no bad jokes from the standing chair.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I do have a couple of items I wanted to share with you all. You know, with more than 40,000 students attending in person and 8,000 employees, we have only had to date 61 confirmed COVID cases. And so far, contact tracing has confirmed that none of those have been infected at school. So our folks are doing a really great job, and we're glad to have our kids in school. We have a standing item on our agenda now to review COVID data based on the current virus trends. And of course, we don't rely completely on the COVID meter, but we actually use that as one of the indicators that we look at for our trend data. So we'll continue to evaluate those trends, as well as our staffing capacity, which is a really big problem for substitutes. So we're continuing to work on that, but we'll keep an eye on that if we need to change our learning models. Another issue, as of our official count on enrollment, we are down about 2,000 students. Majority of that is due to kindergartners that weren't enrolled, parents that decided to keep their kids at home, as well as folks going to homeschool or private or charters, but the majority was the kindergartners. Well, our revenues are very much tied to enrollment, so that has caused us to lose $12 million in revenue, which we have had to cut out of the budget. We've been able to avoid layoffs in our regular full-time staff by moving people around, but that's been a really, really difficult task when we're already behind the 8 ball, as all of you are. On our board meeting on the 13th, we'll be reviewing results of a survey of employees and families about their experiences of the reopening, and we'll be looking at lessons learned, and we'll certainly be working hard to address every single concern, and as we have been as they've come up. It's been very hard on our educators, for sure. They're actually doing basically three types of learning. They've got kids that are in person, they've got hybrid, so some kids are in school and some kids are on distance learning, and then we've had full distance learning, and of course the smoke days have complicated things tremendously for us. Those are called when we have information from the National Weather Service and the Health District that we'll have unhealthy air. And we need to have healthy air because we have to circulate fresh air in our school buses, and we have to circulate fresh air hourly in all of our school buildings due to our in-person attendance. So that's been a huge, just a pain point for everybody. It's been painful for the families, it's been painful for the kids, and it's certainly been painful for the school staff. But again, we can't operate with unhealthy air in our schools because of COVID. We're still awaiting receipt of thousands of laptops, which we ordered early in the summer for our children that need them. And like every school district in the country, we were ordering laptops for our kids in need, ordered $10 million worth of laptops. Thank you to the City of Reno for helping us with some CARES funding. We appreciate that, and certainly all the entities and companies that have been stepping up to help our kids in need get laptops. So we still have about 6,000 kids that need devices in order to participate fully. Just be happy to answer any questions. We're very grateful for all of the support and help that we've had from folks throughout the region. It's been very difficult. And I think one of the things we're all learning nationwide, because we participate in national calls regularly with other districts, this is going to be a very, very difficult year for moving kids forward in their academic achievement. I was on a call on Tuesday with folks from Clark County, And they are, of course, all distance learning, and the kids just don't show up. They aren't doing their work. So it's really going to be a dramatic hit to education for children, 2020. So everybody hold good thoughts for our kids to keep them moving forward. And thank you so much for all of your support, and happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions for Ms. Simon Holland?
Mr. Chair.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Ms. Stewart.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that update, Ms. Simon Holland. Really appreciate that. My question is, you said that the computers are on order since early summer, and I just wondered, is there an estimate of when they might be delivered?
Great question. They were promised towards the middle or end of October, so we're hopeful that most of them will be coming within the next couple of weeks. There was a second wave that are possibly not going to be here until the end of the calendar year. That's, I mean, we're talking about 5-6 months to get these devices for kids. A lot of refurbished devices have been provided, and we also reassigned computers that we had in schools, but it's been a massive undertaking, and so we're still waiting to get new computers for a lot of those kids. But we do have Wi-Fi and hotspots provided for all of the families that needed them now.
I'm sure thank you for that. I'm sure you know very much so that we are all under the deadline of spending the money by the end of December. And as I recall, the city of Reno dedicated $3 million to the school district, $2.5 million of that for the computers, the laptops. And, we'll keep our fingers crossed that they get in and we can pay the bill. I don't know if the federal government is going to extend that deadline, but it's been even harder than some of you maybe remember previous projects where we had to have shovel-ready projects and spend money. And the only way we could do that was really on paving, because most engineering type projects have to have money in hand before they do the design. And so I am a little fearful of running the timeline out a bit. I don't know if anyone else is, but I've been concerned about that.
I appreciate that tremendously. And again, thank you to City of Reno for that support. And I know our folks are working with the funding sources to make sure that we can get those bills paid and qualify for that funding. So yeah, very, very, very tight timelines, but much appreciated. And we're going to get that money moving as fast as we can.
I know you are. My understanding is they're just not available. I mean, they're just haven't built them.
And of course, many of the components come from China, and so it's been very difficult. And every school district in the country is trying to do the same thing. So I think this is pointed out. The digital divide is a social issue that we have got to deal with as a nation. Kids are entitled to a free, quality public education in this country, and we can't give it to them if they can't access a computer. So that's got to get resolved.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Simon Holland? Well, my hat comes off and my heart goes out to the board, Dr. McNeil, all your staff, Ms. Simon Holland, all the teachers and everyone and administrative. I know that this is a very difficult time. You guys have risen to the challenge, and hopefully we'll look back on this and it'll be an experience that we learned from in the event, or it's probably not if, but when it happens again, and we'll have a roadmap. This caught us all really off guard, and so well done.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will pass that along to our staff. I know they'll appreciate it. It's been a very, very hard year especially for our teachers.
Yes. Okay. All right. There is no real action on this. Thank you for that report. Ms. Prunty, do we need to accept the report? Okay. Very good. Item B, members and directors report. And item B1 is the next regularly scheduled meeting. Dr. Smith.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Yes, our next regularly scheduled meeting is for December 10th. We have been approached by staff at Washoe County in terms of there is some access to the chambers. And so it's possible that we may be able to do a hybrid version of this meeting. If folks are more comfortable coming into the chambers, we could probably get some folks set up in there. But I imagine that still it will need to be a hybrid with Zoom involved as well. I'll keep you posted on that. I have just a couple items. I just want to let you know that the consensus forecast work and spatial disaggregation is continuing to move forward. That's going to be my biggest priority after today's meeting wraps up, and getting that done and getting those deliverables to the RTC. So that, and I would say also hats off to Damian Kerwin, who's really been stepping up to just fill the void that I have left in a lot of ways, and he's coming along really greatly. So we're doing a lot of capacity building here at Team RPA. Yesterday, I participated in the virtual APA conference. There was a panel session of regional planning in the state, and so we had the TRPA there. We had Southern Nevada Strong and myself, and we just had a couple of we did a little intro, had some questions. It was really a fun event. So hopefully we garnered some support for regional planning across the state, and we made those connections. And so now I can, we're already talking about staying in touch and collaborating in terms of regional planning across the state. And then finally, the work on the COVID risk meter has prompted the chair of one of the schools at UC Davis, the public health department, to ask me to participate in a seminar where I would present the modeling work that we've done. And it was initially going to be slated for later this month, but they moved it back to January. So just wanted to make you guys aware of that and let me know if you think you have any concerns about me participating in that. It's he referenced it as a low-key seminar on Zoom. So I think they just want to find out what have we done. They heard about the COVID risk meter when we did the press release through the city a few weeks back. So that's my report. Thank you.
Okay. Will they supply virtual coffee and donuts?
I'm going to be in touch with Councilperson Abbott about that.
All right. Any other comments?
Mr. Chair, Mr. Dewar.
Sure, yes.
Yes, I just wanted to reemphasize what Jeremy said. This is a very prestigious seminar. It's all of physicians at UC Davis. And the fact that they were so intrigued with the meter and wanted Jeremy to come present, I thought was a real honor to have a non-physician presenting on a whole new technology. I mean, this is of great interest to people across the country. And apparently in further research, there are only about 10 of these meters, and they don't even do what ours does. They usually analyze or record one or two variables at most. And they're often used for reopening decisions. So it's not really a meter. It's more of a way of saying, how are we doing and can we reopen? Ours was meant, my understanding from the whole team, was meant to provide residents with good, timely information so that they could best model their own behavior, give them back some control over their behavior based on what's going on. Very much like Air Now. Those with asthma maybe won't go out under a certain number, where those that don't have that problem will go out in the air and maybe jog. So it was really meant as an informational tool for the public. So I'm intrigued with the fact that they have invited Dr. Smith to present, and I think, again, it's a great honor, and it shows that this is pretty cutting edge. Thank you.
Yeah, Jeremy, I mean, the work that you've done with data collection and the assembly is just, it's amazing. You've proved it time and time again. So don't be surprised if others start looking at what, the things that we're doing around the region. And especially with this new graph, the TMAR graph, that's really quite astounding. And I don't know whether anyone else around the nation has that, but boy, it's what an incredible tool. And so, I mean, it's just, again, you've put us on the leading edge. Well done.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, I will close item B, and Ms. Prunty, legal counsel's report, item C.
Prunty, for the record, nothing to report on the legal end today. Thank you.
Always good news. Don't take offense to that. Okay, we will close that. Item 9, board comments, requests for future agenda items. Board members, anyone wishing to add something to a future agenda? Okay, I will
Mr. Chair?
close. I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you, Mr. Vice Chair, for running the meeting. I definitely was right. My internet connection for my computer went in and out, but I was able to stay on my phone the whole time. So it's always good to have a backup technology. I am out in the desert, and that's the way it goes out in the middle of Nevada sometimes. So thank you so much for handling this today.
It was my pleasure. You actually have a great phone connection, so you must be near a cell tower somewhere. Your phone connection is very, very good.
Good, thanks.
But thank you. Any other members wishing to comment at this time? Okay, seeing none, I will close that. Item number 10, Mr. Kerwin, our final public comment.
We have none.
Okay, is there anyone in the chat room wishing to speak? Seeing none, I will close that. Written correspondence.
We have none.
I will close that. Okay. With that, thank you, board members. We are adjourned.